Hey, welcome back. I'm joined by Faith today, and would love to hear what you're working on at Tulla. And it's definitely very different than a lot of the previous guests and conversations that I've had. So, would love to hear a little bit more about that. Yeah, absolutely. Had a insurance broker that we talked about. Uh, Health insurance and different things, especially for those that are nearing retirement. Um, I had a business kind of M&A attorney that was things to consider from when selling a business. So it's usually around finance, money, um, solving problems for that demographic of people. So this is, I know you work with a lot of the same people, just in a different capacity. So that's a lot of the conversations that we have with clients as well as periodically on the show. Yeah,
Few initiatives that are really enriching my life right now and the team that I work with. The first one is a leadership development program that I launched in February. It's called Lead with Love. The 10-month, I call it 10-month inner leadership development program that really focuses on someone's inner life and how their inner life translates and manifests in their behaviors and in their leadership. So that is a new program. And again, we launched in February. I have two groups right now, and the groups consist of founders and entrepreneurs, and then partner level or C-level leaders inside of organizations. And the second exciting thing that, or I think it's exciting that we're working on at Tulla is taking the great work, which is a 7-month personal development program, and now creating a facilitator certification model, which was always part of the vision to help scale the model. And so we just concluded or wrapped up a beta cohort where we took several therapists through the curriculum to gain insight into their readiness or desire to become certified to facilitate the program with the populations of people that they serve. So yeah, personal development, leadership development, and then really taking next steps to scale the company, to scale the business, which you probably know if you have business owners in the clients that you serve,
yeah,
scaling a service-based model is a challenge.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, yeah, regarding like the first program, like what given your unique background coming from private equity and whatnot, like what did you see that was like missing from traditional therapy or coaching as it relates to kind of this segment? Because I think of like all the corporate trainings I've been through, and then like therapy is like a wildly different bucket. But you seem to kind of
Yeah.
mix them together in a unique way. So I'm curious how
Um,
you got here, if you will.
well, I don't know if I recognized something was missing more than I realized that there was another way to really
Yeah,
support human flourishing, and to really focus on ways to help people cultivate their potential. So this idea and kind of my pathway and getting into clinical work was this kind of unwavering belief that it is our birthright to flourish and to grow. And one of the environments that I think is most responsible for human flourishing and creating the conditions for growth is the workplace. And so I just always saw that as the container for ongoing growth. with this desire to support people in reaching their full potential. And then I'll just touch on the therapy part or the clinical part.
Yeah.
The more that I started working with founders, entrepreneurs, really anyone, but that tends to be the majority of the population I work with. There was a real need to be able to really assess and see the difference if someone was struggling with anxiety or ADHD or depression. And now I have both the integral coaching lens, and because I have a clinical lens, I can see if there's other ways to be supportive with someone's mental health, and of course knowing that mental health and behavioral health translates into how they lead their teams and their company. So it
Yeah.
was another way for me to support human development and human flourishing and to get people the
No.
support they needed.
Yeah. That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Like
You're like a
along
therapist too,
what's that?
right? You're kind of like a therapist in the line
Yeah.
of work that you do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I had somebody say this week she kind of caught herself like 5 minutes into her ranting that she's like, "You're not my therapist. I don't know why I'm saying all this," and kind of stuff. But yeah, uh,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
money, the topic of money is vulnerable. It brings up, a lot of emotional and physiological material. So I can see why somebody would open up that way around that topic.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, on that topic, like, what does like self-awareness or calming the mind mean to you as it relates
Mm.
in kind of the setting that you work with your clients with?
Yeah. Well, self awareness, as you might know, or your audience might know, is really one of the four elements of emotional intelligence. And so, very simply said, self awareness is having conscious knowledge of who we are, our strengths, our motivations, desires, even the things that are challenging about our personality. So it's this conscious awareness of who we are. I tend to take it a step further, or I do take it a step further, and I through different personality assessments and a lot of kind of journaling questions or deep self inquiry questions, I help people see more and more of who they are. So someone might have, this initial awareness of who they are and how that drives their behaviors, what motivates them. So that's one little piece. Like if they zoom in, they see one piece of them. And if they zoom out on the map, they actually can find more of their strengths, potential, motivations. So I'm helping people get a clear picture of who they are and what's driving them in the background.
Yeah, okay. And is this is more of a basic question about the program that you just launched in February? Is that done in a group setting, or is that done like a series of conversations like this with that cohort of people? I'm just kind of getting a better picture for exactly how the program works.
Yeah, the program is a group development program. So we meet together as a group. I'm actually running both of these groups with different formats so I can get feedback about what works best for this
Yeah,
group of people. But we meet either once a month for 3 hours together or twice a month for an hour and a half in a group. So it's facilitated conversation and some psychoeducation on these different topics. And then people also have the option to meet one on one with me or another coach to help them deepen into the inner work that maybe they don't always bring forward or need to bring forward in the group work.
yeah. As part of that, would you say it's harder for people to kind of set aside their or get a better understanding of their self-awareness, and or more like getting them to better live out their values, if you will, like obviously you've got like a maybe you have a business owner or an executive that that's 99% of their life, and then they have a family and whatnot. But that's like their primary identity, if you will.
Mm.
Is that, which one's harder? Which one would you say people struggle the most with? Uh, is If that question makes sense, I can word it differently if not.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, word it differently, because I guess what I heard was they're cultivating self-awareness, but also trying to learn how to live out their values. And do those
Yeah.
compete?
Yeah, let me word it different. I know you work with a lot of people that are in transition of some sort. Maybe it's a business owner that's selling. Uh,
Mm.
what do they typically struggle with the most? Like, is it
Mm.
finding a new identity or finding new values after some sort of major life event?
Okay, well, yeah, if someone is in a transition and they might be considering what the business looks like beyond them, and I definitely encourage business owners and founders to think decades out. So when they are met with or faced with these decisions that are a natural part of their life, or it comes for other reasons that they've kind of socialized this idea in their mind. But yeah, I would say that a, a lot of people wrap their identity in work and what they do, and achievement and success. And so this program, it definitely honors that. And I think there's a lot to be said about the gifts and talents that we contribute in life. But we are so much more than our work. We are so much more than the identity that we've created around the business that we've started, or the leadership role that we have within an organization. And so this program helps people see more and more of who they are. They gain greater self awareness, they gain insight into what they truly value, because you might know that, and for your listeners to hear the importance of this, values support our executive function skills. So, like, how do we plan, prioritize, and make decisions? Those are often filtered through the lens of our values. So, if we don't really know what we value, then we can get lost in an identity that's not always completely representative of who we are at heart.
Yeah, the
So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And along those lines, like, any tips for being more present, both
Mm.
uh, professionally or personally, whichever one kind of comes to mind first. That's, uh, I mean, obviously with phones and computers and all the notifications and things that we get on a daily basis, uh, definitely something I've struggled with, but
Yeah,
figured you would be a good person to ask.
yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. What about being present is important to you or appealing? Like, what does present mean to you, and how do you think
I
it can help?
mean, it means, I guess, at work, not trying not to multitask as much and
Mm.
just focusing on one thing, like not having this conversation and looking at phone notifications or stuff like that,
Mm.
is, or email coming in, and trying to just focus on one thing.
Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah.
I would say the same thing at home. It's not looking at work stuff as much, or being on your phone and doom scrolling, if you will. Uh,
Mm.
so the that's
Yeah.
the goal, and usually what
Mhm.
the distraction is. But um, yeah, would love to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I would say one of my favorite practices to become more present is the practice of mindfulness. And so mindfulness is a type of meditation. Meditation simply means you're training your attention to come back to the present moment. And so there's so many different types or forms of meditation. Mindfulness is learning to pay attention on purpose in the present moment and not getting caught in the email, the tone on your phone, the ringing that's happening, the to-do list that's driving in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Um, and so mindfulness is a great technique. It takes a lot of practice. It's the daily practice. So um, one one way that you could do it that doesn't require you to go anywhere or add anything else to your calendar, especially for busy professionals who are also parents, is to use moments of transition as mindful moments. So, in between meetings, let's say you finish up with a client and you're heading back to the office or you're moving
Yeah.
to
In
another
the
meeting,
car. Yeah. Yeah.
just feel your hands on the steering wheel. So, it's so easy. I'm sure you know, like you can be driving and then get to a destination and completely like realize that you don't even remember how you got there. You just kind of were on autopilot.
Yeah.
So use your senses, feel your hands on the steering wheel, feel your body on the chair. Um, Before you walk in to see your wife and family, turn off the car and close your eyes for a moment and take 3 deep breaths. Feel your the weight of your body on the seat, and then walk in to home. So to put a little bow on that is make moments of transition mindful.
All right. I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It's pretty simple, hard to do consistently, but
Yeah.
it's giving you an option to do it as part of your life versus having to go, add something else to your calendar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I feel like otherwise you just run from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And yeah, all
And we
right.
know that mental speed lives in the body. So this is where stress comes from, fatigue, headaches, can eventually lead to chronic health conditions when we are always in an open loop in our mind or never really able to to be fully present in our mind and body, that we're constantly looping around the next thing to do or the next client that we have to see or the next um, all of what's next. So
Yeah,
the psychological speed creates even psychosomatic disorders, which we don't have to go into that. But I think your question is important. How do we become more present? Because it's not just helpful to us and to our health, to our biological health, to our physiological health. It definitely over time starts to create more of an enduring sense of peace and freedom in the body.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing this. And I guess where can people find you? Who is like an ideal candidate to reach out, things like that.
Yeah.
And I'll obviously include your website and the show notes and all of that. But would love to
Yeah.
hear who should reach out and where to find you.
I would say that, and I'm still landing on how to describe the types of
Yeah,
clients that come to me, but someone in a major life transition or even what they might feel like is a crisis, or someone who is experiencing a calling. They want more from their life. They want to know themselves more deeply. They want more out of life. So crisis or a calling to become more of who they believe they can be, so to know themselves more deeply. Um, and,
awesome.
and as such, they'll become better leaders in all areas of their life.
Yeah, that is the goal, and yeah, that's what we're
Yeah.
all looking for.
Thank you, Matt. It was nice
Yeah,
to reconnect, and thanks for the opportunity and for the work that you're doing as
yeah,
well, and the way that you're helping your clients. I think you hit on some really important topics in your newsletter that are probably really resonating with people.
appreciate that, and
Yeah.
I'll include this in the newsletter. But I
Awesome.
appreciate it, Faith.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Have a lovely day and a lovely weekend.
You too.